Hi, and welcome to The Social Angle, a podcast that helps promo pros gain an edge in the social media realm. I'm Vinny, and on this episode, I am joined by Proforma's new social media and PR specialist, Mike Ross, to talk about lessons he learned from a decade in the sports and entertainment industry, what he thinks of his new industry, promotional products, and how he earned 2 cup rings with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and much more. Mike, welcome to The Social Angle.
Vinny, it's a pleasure to talk to you every time. I enjoy, always.
Yeah, I know it's only been 3 months, but we've talked quite often. So before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really all starts, you go back to like 1996, 1997, my parents let me play around on a computer. And from there, it just progressed. Technology, society progresses. And before you know it, Facebook doesn't require you to have a .edu email address. And then from there, you make that. And it seems like 10 other social media platforms came up and are no longer with us. And we've got these, core 4, 5, or 6 of them now. And I love it. I think it's an educational tool more than anything.
So you grew up with the internet, you grew up with social media. You're a generation or two below me. I'm Gen X. I don't know if you're a millennial or Gen Z.
Millennial.
You're a millennial. So yes, you grew up with social media. So tell me a little bit about your background in terms of professional experience with social media.
It's one of those things where, I've always watched more than everything. I'm a pretty keen observer. And it seemed like those people were always with it, always in the mix. And I kind of just shadow those people, try to make friends with those people more often than not, or kind of just see what I can learn from them. Then you fast forward a few years or so, and I'm with the Lightning, and we have a few Instagram and a few Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, and no one was really monitoring and checking it or even playing with it. And I just saw it as an asset that was kind of dying. And I just asked for the username and login, started playing around, got a few likes, got some engagement, impressions, so on and so forth. And then you start feeling like, wow, this is kind of powerful. Like, this is a pretty cool tool to use. And I'm pretty open with it. I went in with zero experience. Like, don't get me wrong, I was a user, but I wasn't a performer, I guess, until that point. And someone was like, I think you're good at this. And I was like, yeah, I think so too. I don't know though. I'm just going to keep playing with it. We'll see where it goes. Hopefully I don't get fired over it.
It's addicting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a rush.
Yeah, for sure. So your background is in PR, correct?
Yeah, it's PR communication.
And then you sort of kind of fell into the social media, just kind of like as personal choice.
Yeah, I think there's a bridge there between the two of them where you start seeing, not just the iPhone notes of people issuing apology statements, right? But you actually see major outlets, whether it's sports, politics, medicine, education, college, start using that tool to get their message out to, the people and the public. And I think that the two meet, I think they're two very different things, PR and social, but they're a lot alike.
Totally. So you have a lot of experience in the sports and entertainment industry, including stints with the Tampa Bay Lightning, PGA, and also professional soccer. What are some of the social media lessons you learned while working for these businesses?
It's a machine when it's done correctly. It is a team. It is 24/7 surveillance. It is a living, breathing organism that you just have to take care of. You have to be everywhere and nowhere at the same exact time.
Yeah, I agree. I think from somebody who is, a big sports fan, and I follow a lot of teams, and I see what the social media presence go through, because like I root for the New York Jets, and the New York Jets are terrible. And the problem with that is that their social media team takes a beating. I can't imagine having to be on, as a team for a sports team that's not very good. Now, you've had the experience with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, that must have been the opposite end of that spectrum.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not trying to pile on here, but it would have been a lot easier if the team was terrible, because nobody chirps and nobody comes after the losers. Honestly, when you're like, you've always got to be careful. It's the spelling, it's the grammar, it's the correct account, it's all of the above, right? But what people don't talk about is it's a full-time job. Like people make the joke, oh, the social media intern. Like, no, it's not. It's a person that is pretty much a doctorate in their field of doing this. It's an actual science. It's a lot of late nights. It's a lot of early mornings. It's weekends. It's holidays. You can schedule whatever you want, right? But at the end of the day, you have to just keep up with it. I mean, I was working on this past Christmas. I was working on the Christmas before that, and so on and so forth. Like, you have to know what you're signing up for if you want to get into it.
Yeah, I think social media is, it's 24/7. And, you touched upon that. You can schedule content and post it, but you still have to monitor what's going on. And it's not unlike that in this industry as well. A lot of people use social media off hours. And, conversations happen when you're not quote unquote working. And, I think just by the sheer nature of social media, you have to kind of be on all the time. Now, that said, you don't have to be checking at 3 a.m., but you have to be mindful that conversations could have happened around your brand, overnight. So you have to kind of look around for that and make sure, that you're aware of that. So, it's funny you bring up, some of the, the mindset of having to be on at all different types of times. Now, what have you noticed with the promotional products industry when it comes to that?
It's so far, like I said, it's as you know, it's only been a few months. It seems like everyone's playing pretty nicely in the sandbox together. Now, I spend a decent amount of time just observing, right? I'm going to use that word a lot here. It's what I do. It's what I do best, probably. It seems like it's a lot of people doing a lot of the same thing, and I think there's a challenge in innovation. Not to say that anyone's doing anything wrong, because I'm certainly not being critical. It's mediums like this, right, where we go on this, and I think that's probably the best thing that you have going, is just watching other people interact with other people, and hopefully we'll get there someday. I think it's day 74 today, so I mean, we've got a long ways to go.
Oh, yeah, you're checking the boxes. You're going on the calendar and checking them off. I like that.
I like to evaluate every situation 90 days at a time.
That's a good, we poke fun of that, but to me, I think that's a good measuring stick as to how well you're doing, how far you've come. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you have any experience in this industry before you entered it?
Yeah, actually I do. Inside the department, we have a budget through Adidas in the past life, and we kind of just had full reign to design and, I guess, choose our own uniforms for our staff and ourselves. And, well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I love sports apparel. Like, sports apparel is what I live in, right? It's like track pants on and slides right now. It's all I wear, right? Unless someone has to tell me to dress nicely, I'm coming in sweatpants and sneakers. You know what I mean? We put together a few items. We had an Adidas rep come through and basically just designing the mock-ups actually on some of the jackets, polos, bags, gloves, helmet stickers, jerseys, all that stuff. So I was kind of doing a little bit of it before I even knew what I was doing. I personally just wanted to have some dope swag to wear in a limited supply that no one else could have, or the people that are on our team. And believe it or not, a few weeks ago we had an event and we were trying to get something done last minute. And I actually called up my guy, Chucky Brightlights is what I've nicknamed him. And he came through and made us a few polos. So it was nice to reach out and talk to him again.
Right. So you have an understanding of swag before you got in this industry, but now that you're in this industry, now you sort of understand the impact and the breadth of this industry. The $20 billion industry that the promotional products industry is, and you kind of your mind is like, wow, like this is a lot bigger a deal than you thought. So you're now in the industry now for 74 days. What is your impression of the industry now that you've been here for 74 days?
It wasn't until the event week, we'll call it that. Was it 2 weeks ago? I'm still trying to recalibrate from Pacific time, but 2 weeks ago with ASI, obviously, and the other one in Vegas, PPAI, that painted a much broader picture for me. Like, wow, this is large, to say the absolute least. I mean, it's a machine itself. And after just seeing that many people, that many suppliers, distributors, everything all in one centralized place, it's okay. we've learned a lot. We've gone over a lot, but we have a lot more to go over because I will not consider the training complete until I know every nook, cranny, everywhere.
Yeah, and at the trade shows is where you kind of get a lot of the knowledge and understanding of what goes on in this industry. And it's been so difficult the last 2 years having to deal with, trade shows being shut down, not being able to get together because, at its core, this is an industry of relationships and networking and people getting together and, physical products. So it's great that, you're here for less than 3 months and you're already getting out to trade shows. That's going to help your education and understanding of this industry. So it's a complicated industry, Mike. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I've been here for 15 years. And when I first started, I was completely floored at what was going on. It's B2B. I didn't understand it. I came from the news industry. So, it took a little bit of time for me to get up to speed to hit the ground running because it was challenging. Now, I didn't have the educational resources available to me in 2007. What are you doing other than attending trade shows to get up to speed and educate yourself?
Honestly, it would be wild of me not to mention the Mozilla family. The Mozillas have rolled out the red carpet treatment, and that's putting it lightly. I am at Vera Mozilla's office 2-3 times a week, and we are going over everything. I mean, I think it's safe to say that PR and social media now is just such a high profile department, right? Let alone realm. You really have to be educated in it. And she has taken the time. Our CMO, Billy Joe, has done the same. And I use the term holding my hand, and it's truthfully what it is, and just walking me through. And if I don't understand something, it's okay. Like it's totally okay. We both knew, the two parties knew exactly what they were getting into with entertaining the idea of an outsider, and I owe it all to them. I mean, I lack nothing. I have all the resources I need, and the energy here is nice. Like it actually feels nice to have a nice quality of living. Not that, don't get me wrong, winning these is great and fun. Nights I'll never, forget, right? But it's nice to hear you're doing a good job every now and then. You know what I mean? Like the first time I said it, I was like, what kind of game is that? But no, they're just genuinely good people, and we're here to have some fun.
Right. Right. And that's good that, they're taking you under their wing and they're trying to make sure that you understand everything before you get out there and, applying what you've learned. Because I think, the knee-jerk reaction is hire somebody to do social media in this industry and then put them in the deep end and let them sink or swim. Chances are they're gonna sink because they don't have a grasp of the industry itself. Now, you just mentioned social media. You've been here for 3 months. What is your impression of the social media game in this industry from what you've been able to gather so far?
So I think similar to like what you referenced is I did not come from this business to business sales background. And I see a lot of that on social, and I don't necessarily interact with those things. I try to, just watch and observe it. As I have never personally in my career being an internet user bought something because of someone just tweeted something out or doing it that way. But I think that there's down the road a way to improve that and make it better. Now, and I say that openly as an outsider, and I'm uneducated that looks to become educated. That doesn't really catch me, just maybe because I'm not in that position. But I think that down the road, there will be a way to really, really sell on social.
Yeah, I agree. I think, what you're going to see is a lot of people doing social media wrong, and they still do it. And I preach against it. Selling on social media, hard selling, I mean, sales sheets, that kind of stuff doesn't work. And the knee-jerk reaction is when you see that, it's like, oh, they're doing it wrong. They don't know what they're doing. A lot of people don't know what they're doing, but there are a lot of people in this industry who know how to use social media, know the right formula, know how to network with each other, to create relationships, to get to know one another, trust each other. And a lot of that is happening in, Facebook forums. They're happening on, any type of social media where you can kind of jump into someone's, messages and talk to them about, providing solutions to their problems. So that stuff does go on, and I'm impressed every day from the stuff that I see and the people that I interview in this industry on how they're embracing and how far they've come since I started in this industry. Because when I started in 2007, it really wasn't even social media. So a couple of years later, obviously, the businesses all took off with social media, but now I see people doing some really good things in social media, and it's really nice to see. Now, can we be doing better? For sure. And that's kind of where this podcast comes in. I try to help educate our users, this industry, on how they can use social media to their benefit. So I got to ask you about, now you're working for Proforma. I want to know, do you have any big plans for the Proforma accounts?
I think that's something we're just going to have to sit back and all watch and wait. I think that, and I use this reference a lot, when I do figure this out and I feel comfortable swimming in that deep end, I will raise my hand and we will put the pedal to the metal. It's time, right? It's no different than building relationships, building a business. Social is business, and social is relationships. So it's the second, I can promise you this, you'll be the first person I tell. When I figure it out, what we're going to do, big picture, big plan wise, it will click and it will make sense. It's adjusting, it's learning the audience. That's another thing too, because I could do social for sports and entertainment with my eyes closed. This, not so much, but the same thing I told Greg Mazzolo at the Christmas party. If it was easy, it would be boring. And this is not, this is fun. I'm enjoying learning a new skill set and a different language.
It's challenging, Mike.
Yeah.
Mike, this industry is challenging. ASI holds a completely different position in this industry than Proforma does. Proforma, you guys are a distributor. You have franchisees. ASI provides products and services for distributors, suppliers to get together, do business with end buyers. I know that ASI, being at ASI and doing the social media is a challenge. Every day I'm looking for new and interesting ways to do social media. And it's not unlike that for you with Proforma. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but when you find out and you have some ideas, I want to hear them.
Yeah, people will ask me, tips, tricks, questions, all that, and I'm more than happy to answer. And 9 out of 10 times, people are looking to grow the business, the front-facing side of it, right, on media, right? And I'll ask them immediately, how much time do you spend on it a day? Most people say 0. Some people say sometimes. Some people say before bed or when they're having the morning coffee. Okay, well, how about you just build in a 15-minute meeting? You have to use it, right? You have to use it. And then the second thing I do is I just say you just have to use it again. You just have to keep playing with it. It's a toy. If you really think about it, that you can use correctly or incorrectly. It's up to you how you're going to use it. But unless you're a user, you can't just throw money at it or a job title at it and expect it to grow. There has to be a connection. It has to be organic and authentic.
I agree, and I think you touched upon it a little bit there. It's trial and error. Me, you can't worry about making mistakes. You have to make them, and you have to learn from them. So, I preach it, about having a social media strategy plan all the time. You consistently try new things, measure how you're doing, refine your plan based on your results, and eventually you're going to find out what works for you, what doesn't.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So now I got to ask you about those 2 Stanley Cup rings. Now you won 2 you literally have 2 cup rings by being an employee with the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about that experience. That must have been something. I'm a huge hockey fan. I'm a Rangers fan. And to me, I feel like the Stanley Cup is the greatest trophy in sports. The Stanley Cup rings are really synonymous with that as well. And man, give us a little bit of a story about the whirlwind of emotions that you went through while that team was winning the Stanley Cup.
There's nothing more than I would love to do than talk more about that experience, because I'm in Tampa, it's everywhere. This is a hockey city. Don't get me wrong, the Bucks are good, but it's a hockey town. Don't ever let anyone try to confuse you there. I'm serious. People like the Bucks because Tom Brady came. That's it. Um, the Stanley Cup weighs 34 and a half pounds. I've had the privilege to raise it a couple times. It weighs a lot more than that. It weighs, it doesn't as much as mass. It's, you're missing weddings, you're missing birthdays, you're missing bar mitzvahs, sweet 16s, you're missing the birth of somebody, you're missing. I mean, I had a boss that I worked for there, and he got married, and they had to fill the role, and he still hasn't gone on his honeymoon yet. It is
Oh,
a 24/7, 365, no matter what ordeal. And there's some teams out there that aren't as strong and competitive. They get to pack it in April. Okay,
right,
they get to
right.
pack it in. You look. I know. I'm sorry for your listeners in Ottawa, but Ottawa can pretty much, off the start of the season, pencil in the golf trips and the vacations in April because they're not doing anything. It's different when you're competitive. Like, that you actually know you expect to be in the playoffs and you expect to grind, and then you keep going, and then you win another round, and then you win another round, and then it's like, okay, we're here.
Right.
Act normal. Act normal. We're here. And there's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of stress for sure, and it's a lot. But you just kind of come back to the competition side of things, and if the players can do it, we can do it. 'Cause they're going through hell. Their
Right.
bodies are getting crushed. I mean, there was a player on the Lightning last season that had to have like 7 screws put in his knee in the Eastern Conference Final, and he was on the ice skating like 5 days later.
Yeah.
You see
Yeah.
that, you hear that. Like, it's not like these people are just godlike creatures. They pull into the arena in their car just like you do with the same walk that you take. It just, there's no police escort for us, right?
Right. Right.
It's it's a
So,
grind.
so did you get your rings the same time the players got them or no?
No, no, no. The players got theirs a little bit before we did. I would say
Okay.
probably about a month or so. Actually, for the first one, we got this when we were down 1-0 to the New York Islanders this past playoffs. And
Okay.
obviously, it was just a date that was picked, but it would have been a really pretty lousy experience if we had not gone on to win that series, and kind of jinxing ourselves, right, by issuing
Right.
the rings. But and the second one we got, not too much longer afterwards, because I guess when they made the first ones, they already had 2 designs ready.
I see. Okay.
Subtle flex, but yeah, they made 2 designs and they made the first one, so it was a pretty quick process. And you know, I love them. It's funny, I'm actually in the market to buy a new car here pretty soon. I'm looking quite frequently and financing all that nonsense, right? And it's like, well, here's my brand new Tesla sitting here on my hand, but I'm
Ooh.
not gonna
Yeah.
sell them ever because I love them.
Yeah. I hope you don't have to do that. I see a lot of these old ex-professional athletes who have to sell their rings to get by, towards the end of life. But that's something that, I would cherish for the rest of my life. I mean, I mean, congratulations to you. You worked, for those rings and you earned them. And, I think that's something special. Heirloom to hand it down to your kids or whoever you want. I mean, that's
Yeah.
something really special.
No,
Now,
it's unforgettable without a doubt.
totally. Now you're not going to be able to win any Stanley Cup rings here in this industry, but we do have. There are some connections to professional teams. I know a lot of the distributors. Work with some of the professional teams. Like BDA works with the new franchise out in Seattle, the Kraken. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff that our industry does with a lot of the pro sports teams. So anytime you see professional swag, there's a chance that, it came from this industry. So before we go, and I, of course, want to thank you for your time today. Before we go, I want to ask you, one last fun question. I could ask you, a hockey question, but because we're close to the Super Bowl, I want to get your Super Bowl predictions, and I'll give you mine as well.
The Cincinnati Bengals.
Come on, man.
You're joking. Nobody can stop that quartet of offense in Cincinnati right now.
Come
Jamar
on.
Chase is literally catching the balls with his eyes closed. You got T. Higgins on the opposite side. He was on my fantasy team. We won at another championship. And I really think that they have a solid run game. you have to score points in the playoffs. It's really that simple. Like you're not going to see the anomaly like that Patriots Rams Super Bowl that had like a total of like 13 3 years ago. You have to put up numbers.
Yeah. Hey, look, do they have a good offense? Yes. Are they going to get past a team like the Bills or the Chiefs? I don't know. My prediction is, and this was my prediction before the season started, and I'm still on track. I have Packers beating the Bills. Now that to me, I feel like is, I'm still proud of that pick because both of those teams are still around. But if I had to reassess during the playoffs, I'd still go with that. I still think Buffalo's going to go into Kansas City this weekend and destroy the Chiefs. I think they're going to, blast them out of the water. I think Tennessee's going to beat Cincinnati this weekend. Sorry to say.
That's fine. We'll talk about it later.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I do think the Packers are really good, and I think Rodgers has got something to prove this year. Especially since he went through all that controversy. But anyway, that's my prediction. And anybody has any predictions, go ahead and drop them in the comments, and we'll hold you to those predictions later after the Super Bowl. But Mike, I really appreciate your time today. I've learned a lot from you. I'm glad that you're in this industry. You bring a lot of energy for sure. You're bringing, 2 Stanley Cup rings that, you're always going to have over me. I'm going to always be jealous of that. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you, feel free to let them know how right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Twitter @PerformaMike, Instagram Rose_, that's my nickname. I made that when I was 14. That's why it's a little childish, but hey, it works. And I have no idea what my URL is on Facebook, but I'm pretty accessible. I try to be fun facing. And before we sign off, I guess I can give a little tip to anybody on social learning to do. Mute the word COVID. Mute it. Nothing good comes from it. Mute the word COVID. It's so toxic.
Yeah, we're done with COVID. 2 years is enough.
Mute the word COVID. Yeah. You can put that in the byline. Just mute the word COVID. It's such a healthier online experience.
Yeah, certainly. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Anyway, that was Mike Ross from Proforma. Mike, again, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you next time on Social Angle.